Okay, there's only, Dave, are you still on the phone?
Yeah, I am. I have a few questions. I have a conversation here.
Okay, well, go ahead, why don't you ask them now?
Okay, looking at the $10 million shortfall in the budget, if you look at the salary and benefit summary, there's 9.31982 million of it right there. A question on the salary, there's an increase of 2.636 million variance increase. You said that this is driven by some additional personnel requested by the administration. I didn't see any assumption of a raise in there, of any salary increases. Is there an assumption in there for a salary increase?
Well, Dave, as you know, we're in negotiations with both groups.
I understand. I'm asking the question if we have accommodated something in there for that.
I believe we have, is that correct, Kathy? Yes, we have. But you know, we have to be careful there because kind of...
I understand. You don't have to pay for it.
Okay.
Second question, benefit side. We forecasted 9% increases on both the hospitalization and prescriptions. Is there any possibility of getting some help again on the current fund balance? I'm not sure exactly where that is, and is there any possible help on that area?
I think it's a phony number.
Yes, Dave, maybe you didn't hear when I was down at the podium. Once I get my projections for 6 months, because I haven't seen the 6 month at what we've done since July, that will play into that, and then I can also see how that's impacting the fund balance in the medical fund.
Okay, you're right. I couldn't hear you very well when you were down there, but thanks for the answers.
Sure.
Is Peter still on?
Peter, are you still on?
Okay. All right, so the, you know, going forward, we have another finance meeting. We'll start, I guess, the February 2nd meeting to really get into the numbers. But prior to that, we have to decide if we want to tell the board that, or tell the administration that we're going to stick to the Act 1 index. As Kathy said, that takes away some of this preliminary budget. But it also limits our options. And, you know, with the uncertainty, there's a lot of uncertainty this year, both with the state and, of course, you know, as I said, we have negotiations going on with both groups, the teachers, the support staff, the PESers. It's just so much up in the air. And last year we decided not to limit ourselves to the Act 1 index. I would certainly like to see us stick to the Act 1 index, but I don't feel comfortable committing that at board meeting. I would hopefully try direct the administration to do everything possible to stick to the 1.9%. But I don't know how other board members feel about that.
I would share that concern. I'm sorry I can't see if anybody else's hands are up, but yeah, nobody likes tax increases, but there's so many questions, as you said, I don't see how we can stick to the actual index.
I think we should try. I think we should really try to focus on just staying within the index. I really do. I think we hit the community pretty hard last year, Dave. We hit them pretty hard.
Yeah, I'm not saying that we shouldn't try to do it, but I don't believe we can commit at this stage of the game.
You could if you wanted to. Yes, you could
I
if you
agree
wanted
with
to.
Bill too, and you know what Dave's saying. I don't want to go above the 1.9, but I think to tie our hands in at this point, I don't think that's the best thing.
If everybody doesn't want to go above the 1.9, then why wouldn't we
that's what we're doing.
Exactly. Nice point. Good point, Mrs. Rudd.
Well, that's, here's my take on that. Alls we need to do right now is put out a preliminary budget, and nobody, I mean, when you look at that budget that's out there now, and it's the same one we started basically with last year, the same type of deficit. To me, that's just an administrative procedure. Then we go forward. If we have some commitment from the administration to try to stick to the 1.9, I just don't see a downside to it. I mean, I just don't like tying our hands.
Well, because, so the options are vote on January 26th on a resolution saying we won't go above the cap, the 1.9%.
Correct.
Or on February 12th, we have a special meeting and vote on a preliminary budget
Right.
and
And then we
continue that
work,
way. Yeah.
we work till June to get it down to the 1.9. But we're not limiting it. Well, I shouldn't say that because we would have to make some decision whether we're going to apply. The only exception we can apply for is the Peaser's exception. And I don't know how much that'll get us, but
Mrs. Johnson, is there an amount that they tell us?
Yes, they will eventually post a worksheet up on the PDE website for us to work through to determine what our amount is. And that information is not there yet.
When does that come out?
I would think sometime in early February, it'll be there.
After we have to make our decision.
Yes.
that's another reason. I just don't see any upside right now to limiting ourselves. Other than, I guess it kind of locks you in, but if we have our own self-discipline, which we should, I think we can make this work. Okay, well, it'll come up, but unfortunately, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Sounds like, Amy, you would be in favor of going to the 1.9. So, I don't know. We might have to have a little discussion during the meeting prior to, and then if there's enough, we could put the motion on at the meeting.
I guess, I mean, I understand what you're, I can see both ways, but I guess, there is no, if we vote for the resolution at the board meeting, say we won't go above, then we are locked in. And if we don't, we can still, just gives us more options. We can still say we're only going to do 1.9, but we haven't seen the governor's budget, and there really are a lot more variables this year.
No, there's not the same number of variables
That we
that there
don't
always
have.
is.
Do you think it's too
Right for me to ask about these drug deals arrangement with the school district. How do we know in the future they're going to let us
That would be-
use the driving range?
I think if we go above the index, I think that would be
I think that's the same question.
given,
You're saying that it's better to have to say we're not going to go above.
right, I don't know.
My
if
tax
it's in the word
dollars.
about-
We
no,
have those parameters.
Right.
correct. If we kept the parameters, I think we'd have a better chance of more productive solutions. Favorable. And that's my concern. I understand there was cheering. I wasn't at the meeting, I was on vacation, but I understand there was cheering. Last year's budget meeting. When we approved the budget, it was
I had to
3.6.
change batteries. I had to change batteries. Did you turn the volume on?
Okay, I think, that chart that Kathy showed, I mean,
It should be. I don't have
to me, the 3.6 was to get
It's
us
just when I have the microphone. I don't see anything moving up there.
to where we would, closer to where we would have been if we had stuck to the Act 1 index.
The red
all the
light's
years.
on.
We're still behind, and
Can you speak up, please? I can't hear you.
I said, last year was the first year and the only year since Act 1 came out that we went above the Act 1 index. And that was to get us kind of recover from the 2 years that we had no tax increase. As Kathy's chart showed, we're still below where we would have been if we had done the Act 1 index every year. I would certainly not feel comfortable going above that amount, which is what you had 134.2, I guess, mils. But, and that's only slightly above, I think, the Act 1 index. But I'm not comfortable limiting ourselves, but that's, we can take it to a vote, so, for the members who are not here, so. Okay.
So it'll be a motion then on the 26th, and then we'll vote. Or how are you going to do it?
Well, we could put the motion up, sure, certainly.
So you're just going to say we'll discuss it and then add the motion if
Yeah.
there's enough support.
Right. All right, I believe that's all we had on the agenda tonight. So the next meeting is scheduled for February 2nd, the next Finance Facilities meeting. Is there any more public comment? I'm sorry, I didn't.
After you.
Yeah, we had discussed earlier a contract or some work being done by Male, and they put in, I guess, a bid for $3,000, and now it's $12,000. How come it is increased fourfold? I mean, what is it that they're doing?
It's first of all, it's a special agreed upon procedures, and I don't know, Kathy, you could maybe, it's a test of, for our, who's on the medical plan, right? Or benefit plan or something like that. Yeah.
That I had, 2 years ago, I had a conversation with the lady that did our district audit, and said to her that one of the tests that she should have done was to look at payroll against medical to see whether we were still carrying people who were no longer employees. And she said, yes, that's something that I'll do the next time. Now it looks like we're paying to have this very test done. Auditors do tests, and that was one of the tests that they should have done that she indicated that she did not do. So it seems like now we're paying $12,000 to do what an auditor would normally do in testing costs against payroll.
No, I understand what you're saying, but this is much more encompassing than the testing they would do during the audit. That's why it's called an agreed upon procedure, because it's more detailed testing.
And was there a scope of work that it came to this $3,000 figure?
There was an engagement letter, which, right, Kathy, but unlike, as it is with a lot of these types of procedures, they have to estimate, based on what they think they're going to do. Then they get in there, they find out that maybe the records aren't as clean as they thought, or aren't as computerized. There's a lot of factors that play into it. I don't really know the full reason yet, but we have to finish it. That's the problem.
Maybe we should go back out to bid.
Okay, maybe they could throw in some pro bono work. I mean, normally when they go in to do a job, they understand the scope of work, and it would have probably been better if they would have put in a high estimate and then come in with maybe a refund or something like that. But it doesn't look good when they propose 3,000 and then it's 12,000. And 12,000 isn't even the limit. I mean, that's what we're talking about, it costing now, and it could run even more than 12, no? Is there a cap?
Well, no, I mean, but at this point in time, since they've done majority of the work, I would think the estimate of 12. I mean, if they tried to go higher than that, then I would be a little upset.
Yeah, I
because
mean,
they-
it's like
They
a,
know what they're into now, so
Yeah.
they should.
it's like a blank check. I mean, they
Right.
could come in and say, oh, you know, it's gonna cost 15, and, you know, where does it stop?
All right. Point well taken, that's all I.
Okay, thank you.
Two things. Mr. Healy's issue made me think, if that was a bid, isn't that fixed price then, if they bid a price? I mean, that was the term you used, bid.
No, it was, when we approved it, it was an estimate. I remember, it was not a firm bid price.
Okay, because you said bid, that's why.
I'm sorry, no, it was not.
My question deals with the proposal by East Rock Hill to, their request for money. They're asking for tax money to improve East Rock Hill facilities. And then they brought up the fact that the school students were using the park and using the driving range. So that sounded like, well, you're using our driving range, so you ought to give us some money. I heard that in their proposal. So then I have to ask you, do we have a contract with East Rock Hill? Because how do we know they're not going to come back in 2 years and say, want some more money, and you're using our driving range, you're using our park. Is there some kind of agreement between the school district and East Rock Hill as to the use of the park and the facilities, so that we're not going to get billed later on? Because it sounds like there's just no agreement here, and they can do whatever they want.
I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know of any agreement or anything.
Second,
I don't know if Mr. Nyman, I assume you're just,
Our park is a public park.
right,
You have to buy tokens to use the driving range. They use tokens. We do not have an agreement. Your tax money is safe.
well, my tax money goes to West Rock Hill, it doesn't go to East Rock Hill. Secondly, ADA compliant, what does that include? Does that include any toilets or anything like that, or is this strictly a paving job?
ADA compliance is paving.
Well, I've read ADA requirements, sometimes it includes railings, other types of facilities, maybe a platform or something like that, ramps, that might include moving water pipes or something to that extent. Is there anything like that?
No.
Good, thank you.
Sue Furlong on West Rock Hill Township. I think this board is doing exactly what they did last year, which is giving lip service as to how dedicated they want to stay at or below the Act 1 index, but you're giving yourselves an out. And in particular, I don't understand, Mr. Sarnes, why you allow Kathy to inflate the budget with assumptions that in every situation inflate the budget so that it looks like you have this $10 million overage when the breakage can easily be estimated and included, which would reduce it. For the last 2 years, the Laptop 101 program has been a lease decision. I don't know why that would change, why you would ever decide to spend the money to purchase it when history shows that it's being leased. I don't know why you would add staff when you don't have the money to pay the staff that you already have on board. And with the buses, here again, you've got a purchase decision when it could be a lease decision. And it just is very disingenuous to watch you all, oh, I hope we stay within the 1.9%, but let's not tie our hands. You said the exact same thing last year, and you're still lamenting the fact that there was no tax increases during one of the worst recessions that the taxpayers have ever experienced. So that seems rather callous to me. So I don't understand why you don't have Ms. Johnson give you an estimated budget from the get-go, which would have started tonight, that have reasonable assumptions built into the numbers. You didn't ask her to change them, so I don't really believe that you mean what you say.
Anybody else?
Nobody else
Okay.
left.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.